Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well and that your family is safe. This video will talk about how to prepare your written responses for colleges, for high school IB programs like UWC, and other scholarships such as the Wendell Trust International Scholarship. Like I said in our first meeting, your experiences are not enough, especially if you're applying for competitive positions. Let me explain what I mean by this. Some students that applied to my scholarship told me that you guys tutor children. Here are some examples from 3 students. Halata Maharay, to be honest, not much. I've done some tutoring for free, but that's about it. And Kalaita Maharay, I read some books and I go to church. And Salsai, well, I don't have many, but I teach children in their homes so they can have more knowledge and help them in their study. The question that I asked was, what is your community involvement? But writing it like this simply is not enough. That's what I mean. Your experiences are not enough. And don't get me wrong, reading books in your spare time, working to help your family or tutoring students is amazing. But you need to tell me more. I want to know more about you because I have no idea who you are from these answers, right? Think about it. Say, for example, you are in a selection committee and you receive 100 applications, but you can only choose 2 students, right? And all 100 students tutored children before, have the same grade as you, have the same financial barrier. How do you think you will make the hard decision of selecting 2 applicants? Yes, there are usually certain criteria that a selection committee look for in students, which I'll talk about later, but a selection committee will most likely choose an applicant who connected with them. مالتي سي تيملتون كتحفوها لهم قبلهم كم زحد رجالكم تتحكم ويبلد. And maybe you're questioning بزح مودي جبركم ولا حنتي جبركم أجازات راح ندير تسألنا حاب راح ندير صراحة زال there's no student activity in my school. I'm going to address that question as well. Put that thought aside for now. What I'm saying for now is it is not about what you're doing or what you're not doing. It's about how you're writing it so that the selection committee can see who you are, you as a unique person, and know that you have taken the proper time to think about your answers and that you have reflected on your experiences and reflected on your answers. And I emphasize the word reflect because it will help you write a better response, right? Reflect just means serious thought or consideration. So think about what you're writing. Ask yourself, how do I show my story? So after you write your scholarship or other application response, ask yourself, does this show who you are as a unique person? Is this okay? And don't say, to be honest, this is not much, because it is. Everything matters, as I mentioned in our first meeting. Even the things that you in your mind that you consider do not matter, they do. Before I go on to the video, I should say this. I'm not here to tell you what to write or to guide your pen, because essentially there's no right or wrong answer when it comes to writing your essay. I'm also not here to tell you that you need to write your story in a way that the selection committee would like to see, and that you need to get in their heads and think like them or some sort like that. Every selection committee is different, right? And I'm here to tell you how to write your story, how to show them a small window to your life, because that is the only thing you have the power to change. Essentially, only thing you have the control in your application is your story and how you tell it. Okay, so let's get into it. I have 4 tips, something I learned from my experiences and from books. So whenever you're writing your responses, ask yourself why, not just what you do. This is meant to help you reflect. For example, a student tutors children. This answers what you've done so far. Even if the question asks us, what is your community involvement? Reflect on why you get involved in certain things. Why do you find tutoring impactful? Some of you said you tutor for free, meaning you're not doing it because it's your job. So sit down and think about why exactly do you feel the need to help young people with their school homework. And yes, it's to help students, but that is a very generic answer, to be honest with you. So think about it more. Once you figure out why, then it'll be easier for you to write your responses in a way that shows what kind of person you are. Okay. The objective of every question that you find in application is to find out what kind of person you are, not just what you do in your free time. Okay. So I will add an example later in the slide. But for now, I will link a TED Talk by Simon Sinek. He talks about a golden circle, answering why, how, and what. And he talks about it at more length. So I highly recommend that you watch it. You'll have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. Second, it is important that you craft your essays with stories. because humans connect through stories. Why do you think when you sit down with your friends or with your family, you tell them stories about what happened at work or what happened in school? You're not reporting it like a news reporter, right? Because news is a bit boring, whereas stories are interesting. It makes us feel human, it connects us. So when a selection committee is reading your application, right? So if your paper is in front of them, you want your paper to show that you are a human being, someone that they can connect with, not just like a walk-in machine who cares about their grades and their needs only. So show your reader about your experience tutoring or doing other activities. Include specific stories. Was there a time when you were tutoring, let's say, that made you happy or made you feel other positive feelings? Think of a specific example. It will help you show me what kind of person you are. But at the same time, I should say this, don't try to sell yourself. You're not writing argumentative or persuasive essay. For example, don't say, I'm a kind and humble and hardworking student. Because first of all, saying that you're a humble and kind person with your own mouth defeats the whole purpose, right? And second, many applicants are most likely repeating the same sentence, and it will put you at a disadvantage if you write the same thing, right? So, and you're writing a personal statement about your experience, something that is unique to you, something that is very personal. So use that as an advantage and give me an example in your life that show me certain qualities. Say you want to show the selection committee that you are a hardworking student, give me an example of you being a hardworking student. Do you see? Also, do you see that I'm not saying tell me what kind of person you are. I'm saying show me what kind of person you are. So don't tell me word by word. Instead, describe like an event in your life, what you felt during this event, what you did as a solution, what motivated you to do this, right? Use these questions as a guide. In addition to this, I have included a link to a website that talks about show versus tell examples. And I highly recommend that you read it so that you have a full understanding of what I mean. Third, include emotions in your essays. Yes, you have your experiences, but what was behind your experience? What is the emotion that you felt? Paint those words so that the selection committee can feel them too, okay? But don't go too far. Don't make your essay responses into a fictional essay, but strike a balance. Include enough emotion so that your essay does not feel like a robot wrote it. You have to include emotions. Another 3 simple things to keep in mind. When a selection member reads your application, you don't want to leave them with a lot of questions. If they're asking themselves, so what, or what is important about this? Why is he or she telling me about this? So many times during your essay is not doing a good job of describing who you are as a person. And you can usually avoid this problem by having like your teacher or your friend or your family read your response and then ask them if your writing was confusing. I mean, like the selection committee, you want them to have some questions for you so that they can call you in for an interview to get to know you more, but it's usually not a good idea if your essay is too confusing. I think if anything, if they're going to ask a question, it should be similar to like what happened next, okay? After reading your application, the selection committee is a set ways and this goes without saying, but don't miss deadlines. If you know an application will close in December 15, don't wait until December 14 to start your application. If you're confused about the dates, search the name of the program on Google, find their phone number and call them to ask them a question, or you can just email them and ask them the same question. If you miss the deadline, it doesn't matter how much work you put into it. It's not going to be reviewed at all. So don't miss the deadline. Lastly, stay within the word limit or character limit. So if they ask you to answer a question using 100 words, make sure you don't go over 100 words, count it, okay? If they say 5,000 characters just means fidelat or letters, make sure you do not go over 5,000 characters, but also you don't wanna write too little. If they give you 5,000 characters and you give them 200 character response, that is obviously not enough and that they wanted something more. And most students will probably write 5,000 characters and you'll be at a disadvantage if you write less, right? So just be aware of this.